Welcome to week 4 here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center, and Scott Dingman will try to make it 3 weeks in a row as our champion. Here's the lineup he will face today: Chris Labiak, Ed Mousseau, and Tim Frenz. Hi everybody, I'm Paul Peck with Hall of Fame bowler Sue Nawojski. These are bowlers that qualified in league here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. What's their challenge in trying to knock Scott Dingman off the top spot?
First of all, one of the advantages of bowling in a house that holds Beat the Champ is that you get this opportunity to be on the 4th show by excelling in your league and going on to the qualifiers, which we have right here. The advantage is they know the lanes, right? They bowl here all the time. But Scott's shown us that he's figured them out pretty fast, too.
Yes, he is. Let's bring Scott Dingman in, because, Scott, as you try to go for 3 in a row, how do you handle sitting and watching and beyond your control, not necessarily knowing who you're going to match up against?
I just try and stay calm, just watch how the lanes are playing. Unfortunately, being left-handed, I don't think there's any lefties on the show today, but I'll just see how they're playing. I'll kind of get some intel, and I'll just wait and see. We'll see what happens.
These bowlers, because they bowl in the leagues here, may be a little more familiar with these lanes than you are. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage for you?
It could be an advantage. Well, time will tell,
Yeah.
I guess. But definitely, ideally, it should be an advantage for them. But we'll see if we can switch the script on that.
All right, Scott's going to find a nice, comfortable seat, and he's going to sit back and watch and see who he's going to face and whether that's an advantage or not. It is week 4 here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. We're going to get rolling in just a moment on Beat the Champ, presented by Storm. Beat the Champ is sponsored by Storm, the Bowlers Company, and by Latina Boulevard Foods, your favorite family in food distribution. Match number 1, it's Ed Mousseau versus Tim Frenz. Little shake of the hand there. Do not adjust your set, or actually adjust your set if you want to turn the color way, way down, as we watch Tim Frenz, who always revels in his sartorial selections. He broke out the most colorful one he could find in the closet. Tim's a fun guy. Tim is actually doubles as our official Beat the Champ photographer. So if you thought winning on this show is a hard job, making us look good might be his harder of the 2 jobs.
Well, at least he doesn't have to take pictures of this.
Yeah, and a good strike to get things started for Tim. And here's Ed Mousseau. If you were with us on last week's show, you saw the amazing performance of the 18-year-old C.J. Buttery. Well, so last week we go from the youngest bowler to ever be on this show to the oldest. Ed is 75 years old, and we can't wait to see him dazzle us as well here today. And that one drifted a little way high and misses the pocket and leaves him a spare. So now to reinforce what you said, Sue, these bowlers all come from an in-house qualifier of league bowlers here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Slightly different than what our normal qualifying is, which is an open qualifying that anyone can be a part of.
Right, so the opportunity exists. That was a lucky spare.
Yeah, look at Ed. Ed realizes he got lucky on that one. So,
yeah.
So again, that's why we talked with Scott about these are bowlers that bowl regularly and consistently here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. There is some inherent in-house knowledge that they may have over some of the other guys.
And a comfort level. And in order to qualify, you're only bowling against the other bowlers in your league. So it is a shock to come here and you're bowling against your fellow league bowlers, and now you're taking on the champion.
Sure.
But I encourage all league bowlers. You know, we've seen Ricky Zanone won his 4th show that was a league qualifier.
It's not, again, it's a step up for whoever of these 3 bowlers advance to our championship match. It's a step up to go against a pretty high-level guy, but as we saw, Ricky Zanone was the one who beat Derek Green in our final show at ABC Gates Bowl. It can happen, and sometimes that knowledge comes in handy and allows you to overcome whatever talent gap there might be.
Knowledge and comfort level, right? I mean, it's like this is your home house. This is where, you bowl all the time. You know what balls you bring in. You know where everything is. I mean, there's just a comfort level inherently in that.
36 years old from Cheektowaga, New York, Tim Frenz, as we mentioned, full-time profession as a photographer, also spends a little time tending bar and generally hanging out in bowling centers around Western New York, and Tim's great at that, and he loves that. And that and the fashion sense are what Tim Frenz is all about. I joked with him. I said, you look like if there was a superhero that they just threw a whole bunch of colors at, what that superhero would look like. And I think if we were going to come up with a superhero name, how about the Fluorescent Frenzy?
Yep, I like that.
You like it?
I like that a lot. I think that if there was a superhero bowling club, he would be the president.
Well, right. Maybe our mistake is Tim qualified out of the League of Superheroes.
That's
to
right.
bowl
That's
here.
right. The League of Superheroes. I love that.
All right, that was a foul on that shot. So 0. So an open frame in the second for Tim Frenz. Tim
Well, that's the first thing we've seen here. Is a foul.
Yeah, we have not seen a foul at all here. So. Yeah, maybe all those colors, the light just said, I can't handle it. And a good bounce back strike in the third frame for Tim Frenz. Ed Mousseau is from Akron, New York. He is retired, but spends a little time working part-time here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center counter. Again, 75 years old, and a great backstory for Ed because he told us that he didn't start bowling till he was 30 years old, but that needs some explanation because he grew up in New England where they duck pin bowl. So
Right.
he spent most of those first 30 years as a duck pin bowler before he made the transition to the normal 10-pin bowling. You ever duck pinned?
I have not. Great shot, Ed.
Yeah, apparently it's a lot harder. If this isn't hard enough, that's even a lot harder.
So maybe that's why he picked it up so easy, because it felt easy to him
I
after the
wouldn't be
duck pin.
surprised. I would not be surprised. So, had a 5th place doubles finish at a USBC Nationals throughout his career, one of his finest achievements.
And I believe he did run the ABT tour, which was a great thing back in the day. It was a traveling tour for amateurs with handicap and everything. It was well received in its day.
As a matter of fact, it was Ed and his wife that ran those tournaments, and guess who won the first ever one that they put on? Tim Frenz.
The Fluorescent Frenzy.
The Fluorescent Frenzy came through to use his superpowers to win that tournament. All right, so another spare opportunity here for Ed Mousseau. Bowled a 655 in qualifying to make the show here. Got it. Tim bowled a 645 in qualifying to get here. Tim bowls in a couple of leagues a week. He's had 19 career 300s and a high 804. Bowled in high school on the Clarence High School bowling team. And again, back to what we talked about with Ed when we asked him his greatest bowling achievement was, he said, bowling against his grandfather in that tournament put on by Ed that Tim won. How about that?
Wow, that's just the
Everything circles
how many
back
degrees
around.
of
Right.
separation here in Buffalo.
Everything circles back around in life.
Tim had an opportunity there. If he could have struck, he would have closed this match right up to a matter of pins, trying to make up for that open he had in the second, which wasn't really a bad shot. A 4-9 is not a bad shot. It's just a little bit high with terrible results.
Yeah,
But
and that was
put
the
him quite
foul.
a bit
That was the
behind.
foul one as well.
And he
remember?
fouled on the spare,
Yeah.
right? So he lost a pin, really.
Spare in the 4th frame for Tim Frenz.
So we're looking at a 13-pin difference here, Ed being ahead.
Ed Mousseau joked when he saw Tim when they were warming up. He said, he's just wearing that outfit to try to distract the old guy.
Well, I think he's distracting everyone. To be
Well, I
honest.
know. And again, and you've known Tim for a long time, and you knew he would have something ready for us here today.
Well, Tim came into my bowling center and shot 801, and I swear he was wearing that outfit.
Well, maybe
So I
it's
think
good
that's
luck.
a well-worn uncle. Maybe.
Nice strike, 5th frame for Tim Frenz.
I think we could be back to, talking about that little bit of difference between the two lanes, because Tim has struck every time on the left lane, but he has yet to strike on the right lane. So that kind of tells me there's a subtle difference there that he's still trying to figure out.
So look at the determination on the face of Ed Mousseau. Now again, not throwing it real hard, but you gotta like where he's throwing it.
Hit him thin and make him spin.
I love that. That's awesome.
I didn't make it up.
That's
I have to be
great
honest.
though. I love that. Hit him. What is it? Hit him thin and make it spin, or
Hit him thin and make him spin.
love it. I love it. Just another one of those incredible of 500,000 bowling cliches and phrases.
I
That you guys
guarantee you
all
there's
know.
someone out there that saw that shot and thought that.
Good.
Thought that
well,
phrase.
you know what? You just connected with that one person watching, and was like, I'm thinking the same thing. Right, exactly where it needed to be. It's a strike for Ed Mousseau. We're off to a rollicking start here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. It's Beat the Champ presented by Storm.
From the most humble of beginnings to the pinnacle, dreams can come true through hard work, demanding excellence, and conquering challenges. There will be celebrations, along with the unending quest for innovation. Nothing is impossible. Storm.
Hey, Paul, what are you doing?
Hey, Sue. Hey, didn't you hear? We're bowling on MSG. I've got to practice.
No, Paul, we're not bowling on MSG. We're hosting bowling on MSG.
Oh, thank goodness, because there is no way I was going to be ready. Beat the Champ here on MSG. Soon Nawojski and I will bring you all the action. We'll see you on the lanes.
Paul, were you going to bowl in a suit?
From the most humble of beginnings to the pinnacle, dreams can come true through hard work, demanding excellence, and conquering challenges. There will be celebrations, along with the unending quest for innovation. Nothing is impossible. Storm.
And we've had some good bowling while you were gone. Strikes, 2 of them from Tim Frenz, 1 of them from Ed Mousseau as he gets ready to throw the shot here in the 8th frame. And these guys are starting to find the rhythm. 3 in a row for Ed. Can he make it 4? You betcha.
And he needs that to keep up his 13-pin lead, just as Tim needs to come up now and keep his strikes going. Look at that form.
Beautiful. Just perfect,
I was
right?
going to say you think he bowled here before, but he did.
A lot.
A lot.
And he works here, too. Spends a lot of time hanging out here in Tonawanda. So now a little pressure here on
Yeah.
Frenz
Big
in
shot
the
for
8th
Tim.
frame. He's got to get himself back in this one. And he answers the call.
And that was the lane that he's previously had a little trouble with, so excellent adjustment. A little bit up the board. Still hit a little bit light, but, that light hit has been doing pretty well today.
Yeah, I feel like there's been a little more forgiveness throughout the course of the month here. We've seen a lot of shots that may not have been perfect still get perfect results.
The pocket hits, though, we're a lot of 10 pins. Sometimes that happens where the lighter hit will not leave the 10 pins like that. Oh, I had to say it.
Yeah.
It is the announcer's jinx.
So the run of 4 strikes in a row for Tim Frenz comes to an end because of the 10 pin.
And the ball is just not driving through. You can see that it's hitting the pocket, hits it nice, but it's not driving through.
Yeah, that's the look of a bowler who has succumbed to the 10-pin curse.
And
a good spare pickup in the 9th frame for Tim Frenz.
And with that, he's down 14 pins to be more if Ed can continue to strike here.
Winner of this match takes on Chris Labiak, a familiar name to our Beat the Champ viewers because he's qualified for our show 2 other times, but this is his home house, and he was able to qualify within the league bowler parameters of here at Tonawanda Bowling Center. Boy, Ed is on fire.
Ed is
5
locked
in a row.
in. He is locked in.
You know, again, we always ask all the bowlers, bowling idol, right? You know, we get a lot of names, a lot of the newer names. Carmen Salvino, how about that as a name put down by Ed
I would have expected nothing
Mousseau?
less.
I know. I know. That's a great name from the past. So all Ed Mousseau needs here is a spare in the 10th frame, and he will advance. And he will be the slayer of the fluorescent frenzy.
Love it. Right there.
All right. The 10-pin came up and bit him there as well, but he's been great at making all his spares. You know, I love the fact that we just had the contrast of an 18-year-old that looked amazing last week to a 75-year-old that looks just as amazing now. And that's the great thing about this sport is it doesn't matter how old or young you are, you can be great at it. And that is greatness, and that will clinch the victory for Ed Mousseau over Tim Frenz. And Ed's going to move on and take on Chris Labiak, and let's watch Ed finish out the fill ball here. You know, again, a guy ran tournaments. Bowling has been such a big part of his life, and this is a cool little moment at 75 years to bask in the glow of a 237. Ed Mousseau moves on. We'll have his match against Chris Labiak coming up next from the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Yeah, shake of the hand between Ed Mousseau and his next competitor. That's Chris Labiak. Winner of this advances to our championship match against Scott Dingman. Impressive 237 to 213 win for Ed Mousseau over Tim Frenz. And Chris Labiak is a familiar name here on our Beat the Champ shows. This is his 3rd appearance. Has not won yet. Qualified at both transit lanes and manor lanes. And again, Chris is one of the high-end bowlers here in Western New York who just so happens to bowl in a league here at Tonawanda Bowling Center, making him eligible for this show.
Chris is like our resident nice guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question.
Along the superhero line, he kind of has that Clark Kent look to him.
Yes,
like
he does.
He can go into a phone booth and come out, you know, in Tim Frenz's clothes or something similar to that.
And we'll talk more about Chris when he comes back up, but he's an interesting style description because he's changed his style over the years because of injuries, and now he is a full-fledged two-hander, and Ed Mousseau probably goes, those crazy two-handed bowlers, right? You know, I mean, and I mean that in the nice way, and just that it's just so untraditional, and he can't get the 4-pin to go down.
I think he spun around the Beat the Champ sticker.
Yes,
No,
I
we're
think he
seeing
did.
it. We can see it. No, Ed is just simple, down and in. Keep it simple. nothing fancy, but keeps it on line. And his carry percentage has actually been pretty good. Oh, Ed.
Got that one too far right to left and goes open in the first frame. 75 years old from Akron, New York, Ed Mousseau was very impressive and very consistent in that first show. So Ed qualified with a 655. Chris qualified for this show with a 682.
Taking that deep breath before he goes.
You know, because I mentioned Ed's retired, but he works here at the counter at the Tonawanda Bowling Center, and I feel like, man, if you just want to know anything about the sport of bowling, like just go sidle up to the counter and start asking Ed questions. And he'll probably tell you some stories about a lifetime in this sport that will just capture your imagination.
Well, let me tell you something about having 75-year-old employees. They are the best.
Ah, see?
I have a couple myself, both great bowlers, both very knowledgeable, great with people. Like you said, ask them any question and show up to work on time every shift.
Good strike. Another one for the 40-year-old Chris Labiak from North Tonawanda, New York. Works in the healthcare industry, but again, just a very accomplished bowler who has competed at a very high level here throughout Western New York. 4 titles on that ABT tournament that you mentioned that was run, and it was run by Ed and his wife.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that was very well received. I don't know whatever happened to those tournaments. I mean, there used to be Casios, and the ABT, and that's how we spent our weekends as bowlers.
And it was a great test against bowlers that you might not bowl against within your own house and in your own league. So Chris, now, as you can see, the two-handed bowling style, that came about, as Chris has told us in the past, because of some injury. He was a traditional bowler, and because of some injuries, had to sort of shift to the different style. And
I think he was a left-handed bowler for a while, again, because of injuries. But that's the love of the game, you know, just like when I talked to CJ, and he talked about how he wants to, he loves to have fun, wants to bowl because he enjoys it. And this is another one where you'll do anything you can to continue in the sport that you love. Very impressive.
Beautiful. Second in a row for Ed Mousseau. Well, and I hope that, you know, as you mentioned, whether it's a guy like Ed or some of your employees that are on the a little bit older, I hope some of the younger generation capture some of that knowledge and sit and talk to them and find out about their experiences and what they've seen throughout their life in this sport, because that's the only way you learn, is learning from the people that have blazed the trail ahead of you.
Couldn't agree more.
And it's no different in the broadcasting business. I learned so much from some of the mentors I've had, including the great Van Miller, and it's because of that relationship. It's why I'm involved in this show, to keep his legacy alive, and we get to keep talking about him, whether it's the amazing things he did with the Bills or just in general the amazing things he did in the sports world in Western New York. So that's great to hear. It's great to hear that you've gotten that kind of reaction.
You know what's nice is when these people too, like my guys coach the juniors on Saturday morning. So and CJ, not to bring him up again, but he mentioned how his grandfather was his idol. It's like those people carry the love of the game. If you're willing to listen, that they're willing to tell you.
Coming right at you, Chris Labiak, and coming right the other way and knocking them all down. 4 frames, 4 strikes for Chris Labiak.
Yeah, this is a great match. I mean, let's take a look at this. If you look, he's playing the lanes like we saw the guys play it the very first week, where they were getting it out there to that 3-4 board, and it looks like that's almost the right way to play it. You just have to find the right ball in your arsenal to get it to that point and have it, you know, break point at the right time. But houses have characteristics, and you would ask me in the beginning the characteristics of this house, and the hook is definitely in, you know, outside by the first arrow.
Yeah, look at the consistency that we're seeing from Chris Labiak. Yeah, crowd's getting fired up because they're seeing something special going on right now. 5 strikes for Chris in 5 frames, 3 strikes for Ed in as he heads to his 5th frame. The only difference in this match was that open in the first frame by Ed Mousseau.
That's right. When we always stress the importance of making your spares, and sometimes when you're hitting the pocket or you have a tough leave and you don't concentrate as hard on the spare shot, like your mind's still on that first ball, that's when they get away from you.
Yeah, that one just
that was a pull.
Didn't have enough speed and oomph to get down there. So, of course, Chris has been on our show before, so he's already eligible. By being on the show and winning last week, or in the first match, Ed Mousseau is eligible for our season-ending Beat the Champ Invitational. Every bowler that has made the show will be eligible to qualify. The top qualifiers at the Invitational will make our playoff show, which will end our season, and it will provide the biggest payoff that we will have all year long. So it's a second open now for Ed Mousseau, and that's not what he wanted as he tries to keep pace with the red-hot Chris Labiak.
Yeah, we know that when someone's got the front 5 at you, there's no room for 2 opens, and he's digging himself a little bit of a hole here. Good shot.
Yeah, it stayed right.
It did. It never started. It never hooked. It never made its move.
Yeah, it stayed right and light and left Ed a challenging second shot here. Got it. All right, so it's a spare in the 6th for Ed Mousseau, but Chris Labiak's red hot, perfect through 5. Let's see how he finishes up when we return.
The Western New York area has long been considered one of the best anywhere for the sport of bowling.
And no matter where you live, we have lanes nearby.
For top competition,
Fun with family and friends.
Great food and drink, or just a night out, we got you.
We are
The bowling proprietors
of Western New York.
Stop in and enjoy our sport today.
12X Tech Bowling Supplies is committed to continuing the decades-long tradition of excellence established by the DeSanto family. We are the ultimate destination for customer service, experience, and product variety. We offer an extensive inventory of balls, bags, shoes, and accessories. Our unique fitting and drilling process, combined with our in-house lane, ensures a perfect fit every time. With a range of repair and maintenance services, we can help keep your gear performing at its best. Consult our team today at 1000 Highland Drive in the J. Scuddy South Plaza, conveniently located off of 390 in Henrietta.
I'm Paul Peck.
And I'm Sue Nawojski. We want to see you out here bowling for the top spot on Beat the Champ.
So get to any of our great host centers and get the details on how you can be a part of the show and be our next winner.
And don't miss any of the action here on MSG every week.
Yeah, so check out the show next week or get out there and qualify and be our Beat the Champ winner.
Match number 2 here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. It's the final of our 4-week stay here at the TBC, and it has been a fun run. We've had some great bowlers, young and old and good, and everybody's been fun, competitive matches. And Scott Dingman, our 2-time champion, looking to end his run here with another championship, and that will depend on who he faces. Will it be Labiak or Mousseau? And right now, perfect through 6 is Chris Labiak.
Look at that smile.
You know, Chris is such a nice guy and such a good guy and always the first guy to come up and say hello and have a friendly conversation. He's struggled a little bit on this show, and he's just a guy that you root for so much because he's such a good man. To see what he might be in the middle of here is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's been a little bit snake bit, and you know what? No matter what, he's always smiling.
Right, he
Even
either
when things
bowls
aren't going
well
his way.
and somebody bowls better, or he struggles, and you know that's kind of been the story a little bit. But right now he is 6 frames, 6 strikes. And that run will come to an end. And a nice round of applause from his competitor, Ed Mousseau.
Yep, I think that's the touchy lane. He got it it just bit up early on him. I mean, just didn't make it to the break point.
Yep, a little too high on that shot to leave the 3-6.
He's built himself up a big lead, though. He's looking at 53-pin lead in the 7th frame.
Spare pickup in the 7th frame for Chris Labiak. Career 300 games for Chris, a high 878 series in his outstanding bowling career. Ed's had 3 career 300s and a high 780 series. And remember, as I mentioned, he's only been bowling since he was 30 in this form of bowling.
Well, that is 45 years now.
Yeah, I'll say that is a long time
he's
still.
a little experience.
He's not a rookie. He might have picked
He's
it
a
up
rookie
late.
to
He might
us.
have picked it up late, but he's made up for it on the other end. And
Good
that's
spare.
a good spare pickup for Ed in the 7th.
.56 pins separating these two. With only 3 frames to go.
Next stop for us, again, this wraps up our month-long stay here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. The Town Edge Bowling Center is our next stop, not all that far away, about 15 minutes away in Cheektowaga, New York. That's where we'll be next week. Will it be Scott Dingman that will carry over to Town Edge? Will it be Ed Mousseau? Will it be Chris Labiak? Those answers are coming. I don't know what the answer for Ed Mousseau is on this.
I think I can pretty comfortably
crazy
say
leave.
that might have
Clinched it.
put an end to any chance.
Yeah, 3rd open of the match now for Ed Mousseau, and as long as Chris just gets good count the rest of the way, it'll be his chance to knock off Scott Dingman. And maybe the 3rd show is the
Spare
charm.
here will clinch the win, actually.
I want to ask you a little bit about Chris's setup when we show it the next time around. There's another strike. It's you know, that sort of squatting start to his approach is interesting to me.
Well, he's a tall man, and you really want to be as low as you can at the line. So having some soft knees in the beginnings when you're that tall isn't unusual. And you see him come into the slide right here, and good knee bend because he's very tall. So you should have some soft knees to start.
Yeah, again, one of those sort of little unforeseen challenges is when you're that tall, you've got to bend down more to get that ball closer to the ground.
You do. I mean, I find that the tall bowlers have, you know, with the longer arms, have really beautiful straight arm swings and really nice follow throughs. But yeah, you do have to. You have a long way to the floor. That's for sure.
All right, this is a perplexing leave here for Chris. How do you handle all the pins that are still standing?
Yeah, you just try to slide the pin over it and hope it takes it out. I mean, this is actually quite makeable.
Yeah, almost did it. But thanks to the comfortable lead, it doesn't really matter because Chris is going to advance on. So Chris Labiak with the win over Ed Mousseau.
Just missed taking out that sleeper in the back.
And Chris Labiak is our winner. It'll be Labiak and Dingman for our championship. Final week here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. That match is next. Well, that's our final championship match here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Chris Labiak advances to take on Scott Dingman. 236-173 was Chris's win over Ed Mousseau. Scott Dingman, who has won 2 weeks in a row, trying to make it 3 and get himself another drive back from Rochester to Buffalo for next week at Town Edge. So 4th appearance on the show for Scott Dingman. Last week he knocked off C.J. Buttery in the championship match, 233 to 199. And the one thing we have learned about Scott is he is consistent and precise and technical and knows how to make the adjustments he needs in order to win.
Well, as nice as it is to be the high qualifier, you do have to sit and wait for these matches to come to you. So it is a show of patience and gives you a lot of time to think about where you're going to play.
Yep. All right, so now Chris Labiak, who had an excellent showing in the last match. And how about, I know Chris is a numbers guy. Chris came over to tell us that he has been on the show 3 times. He has bowled a 236 all 3 times.
Isn't that something?
Now, of course, last one was the first time it was a winner. He lost the other 2 times at 236.
But that's just crazy. 236 triplicate for him.
Right. So, again, can he do it again, and will it be enough to win? Those are 2 questions we can't answer yet.
Yeah, and I was really happy to see in the last game in the 10th frame after he sealed up the win, he did try a ball change to see what would happen, because that's what you want to do when
Smart.
is tested out, and he is using the new ball on the right lane, but he is staying with the ball that he started with on the left lane, which furthers my theory that these lanes are definitely different.
Yeah. Again, that just one of those little subtle things that make great bowlers great is, okay, I've got this match clinched. Instead of just trying to run up the score, let me try something else and see what it might work for my next match. You always want to do that. You always want to do that when you, or even on your fill ball in the 10th frame, even if it's not a competition like this, if you're bowling in league and you're not striking, make your spare in the 10th frame and pull out something different and see what it does. So
unless you need 9 pins to win, of course.
Right, of course. So Chris has got to know, he if he doesn't already know what Scott's all about, he'll have already noticed it by watching him bowl today. Chris knows he's got to make all his spares. He's got to just be smart and try to post another one of those 236. If he can post another 236, good luck to Scott. If you can beat that, then great.
Right. Well, that is normally enough to win.
Sure.
We have had some high scores here today.
Yeah, we have. This month-long stay at Tonawanda Bowling Center has given us the 2 highest scores we have had on the show so far, and that includes C.J. Buttery's 289 last week. And again, that 236 that helped Chris win was fueled by strikes in the first 6 frames.
We have seen a lot of early strings here, too. It seems like maybe the lanes go through a transition somewhere midway through the game, because when you're lined up, it seems to last. We've seen a lot of like 3, 4, 5 in a row to start out matches while we've been here.
Scott Dingman is 53 years old. He is from Rochester. Occupation as an on-site representative for the Granger Company. Current average of 247. How about that? 236 might not be enough as long as Scott bowls his average.
Good point.
And he is a Rochester Bowling Hall of Famer. So Scott Dingman is a high-level bowler in the Flower City, starting to transfer that here to the Queen City. Strikes in the first 3 frames for Scott, so now Chris knows he's in a match, which he knew already. 40 years old from North Tonawanda is Chris Labiak. Just an overall thanks to everybody here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Of course, the Pym family, longtime owners here of the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Other than letting you walk out the door as one of their best all-time employees, I don't think they've ever made any real mistakes here, right?
I'm fulfilling my destiny over at Cherry Laurel Lanes.
Yes, I know you are. So thanks for them for being great hosts. We've had a wonderful stay here, and we know we're going to get a chance to be back here at some point too. All right, so that one went off the rails a little for Chris here in the 3rd frame, and he's got like a forest of pins there to bring down.
Yeah, and he's back to that original ball, at least to make the spare. So he's obviously comfortable with that
good spare
ball reaction from that. I think maybe he was surprised to see that the ball that he chose kind of skate through the oil, come up light and leave that bucket.
So, yeah, just an overall thanks to everybody here at the Tonawanda Bowling Center for a great stay.
It has been a great stay. This is the longest time I've spent in this bowling center since I worked here, and it's starting to feel homey again.
Yeah, great location here, right off the interstate, the 290 interstate here, just in the heart of Tonawanda. That's a good one from Chris. It sounded great. If you turned your head away from the TV and you heard that one, you're like, oh, that's a strike.
For sure. See, you're getting it.
Yeah, I guess I am, huh?
There is many a bowler who can tell what was left. Jack Jurek could actually tell without looking what pin was left.
So now here's some advice for our executive producer, Joe Chacon. We need to do a show where you just have audio and the shots of the bowlers watching and never show the pins and let people decide if they think that they were good shots or not.
I know you will.
Yeah, Joe just got in our ears and said, we'll turn the monitors off on it and make you guys guess. I don't think I want to do that yet.
No.
But yeah, it is kind of fun. I mean, again, we've had a fun time just in the reaction shots of particularly Scott. Like sometimes Scott's reaction is exactly what it was, and sometimes he thinks it's bad and it winds up being good. Strikes in the first 4 frames for Scott Dingman. Make it 5 for 5. Man, how many times have we had a bowler run the table on the first 5 frames? You alluded to this a little moment ago.
It really
Chris did it in the last match. Scott's done it here. I bet I could go back and find you. We know CJ Buttery did it last week. It feels like that is not uncommon. Scott Dingman did it last week as well, too. He had strikes in the first 5 frames of the championship match.
Oh, good break there.
There you go. Chris Labiak with a strike. We are strikes aplenty here. Oh, good slide there. Was that the 4-pin that got slid out?
Yes, it was. It was a trip 4.
I like quad slide better. How about that? Can you start using that? Add that to your list?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Strike for Labiak in the 7th frame. Oh, man, we got a good one coming down the stretch. Stick around. Conclusion of our championship match is next.
From the most humble of beginnings to the pinnacle, dreams can come true through hard work, demanding excellence, and conquering challenges. There will be celebrations, along with the unending quest for innovation. Nothing is impossible. Storm.
Hey, Paul, what are you doing?
Hey, Sue. Hey, didn't you hear? We're bowling on MSG. I've got to practice.
No, Paul, we're not bowling on MSG. We're hosting bowling on MSG.
Oh, thank goodness, because there is no way I was going to be ready. Beat the Champ here on MSG. Soon Nawojski and I will bring you all the action. We'll see you on the lanes.
Paul, were you going to bowl in a suit?
Scott Dingman has been perfect through the first 5 frames. This is frame number 6 of our championship match. And that will come to an end, will that run of perfection.
Yeah,
Again,
it does seem when he misses enough to that crosses. Well, it just went high.
Yeah.
It was headed for the other side, but it was high. Very makeable spare.
And Scott Dingman gets the spare in the 6th frame. Our host center for Beat the Champ, presented by Storm, is Tonawanda Bowling Center. You can find them online at tonawandabowling.net. They're just one of our many great host centers. And if you want details on how you can be a part of Beat the Champ, just stop in at any of our great host centers and go up to guys like Ed Mousseau at the counter and say, how can I be on Beat the Champ? And hopefully we are seeing you and talking about you on one of our upcoming shows. And that's the great thing about this show and about this sport is if you're a good bowler or if you're not a good bowler and you think you can catch lightning in a bottle, go qualify. Because if you post a score that's good enough, you get to be on TV.
18 to 75, we got them all.
And we have had 18 to 75 on our last two weeks.
Yeah.
All right, so a strike in the 7th for Dingman, so he's got strikes across the board except for a 6th frame spare. Chris Labiak has 5 strikes through 7 frames. He's gonna have to keep doing that, and he's gonna need. That's a tough break. I'll say he's gonna need Scott Dingman to get dinged somewhere along the line, but it was Chris that gets dinged.
That was truly a tough break. He went back to the original ball. If you see that, that's the ball he started with. Great shot through the.
There were 3 pins that bounced
right
around at the 7 pin.
Just went in front of it, didn't hit it.
Let's see what Chris sees. There you go. Again, there's further proof of my let's just do the reaction show shot. Reaction shot show, rather. Spare in the 8th for Chris Labiak.
So he's down 23 pins. He could have cut that to the teens by striking there, and he did everything he could.
Yeah, correction, that was the 7th frame.
Yeah.
So now we go to the 8th for Chris.
With only
I feel like he is headed towards another 236 here, don't you?
With only 3 frames to go, he's in just must-strike situations.
Right.
Great shot.
There's a must-strike and a must-strike result. Strike in the 8th. All right, so now back to Scott. Just kind of want you to watch his focus and determination. And the
Great
results.
shot. I mean, his only flaw in this game was on this lane, and it was the last time he was up on it, so there had to have been some adjustment made. And
2020 Rochester Masters champion, 54 800 series, 85 300 games in the career, Hall of Fame career of Scott Dingman. And Chris Labiak looks on, and there's not much more you could ask for Chris to do
he
than
says,
what
do
he's
I
doing.
have to do?
That's exactly what I was thinking. What does the poor guy have to do? Well, all
and
right.
he liked that. He was confident about that shot.
So Scott gets his 7-pin plague there in this match. Chris got one earlier. That was, yeah. Oh,
no.
right till the end.
So Scott's put Chris in a situation where he kind of gets to He gets to finish, and then Scott's going to know what he needs, if he needs anything at all, when he gets up in the 10th.
All right, so 9th and 10th frames coming up here for Chris Labiak.
And all he can do is strike out. If he doesn't strike out, there's not a chance, really. But he can put some pressure on him by throwing the next 4.
Well, that's what you want to do, right?
Absolutely.
You know, make your opponent earn it. And
same lead as last time.
Get him what he wants.
We were talking how that swisher hit was actually kind of successful today, but for him, he hasn't been that lucky with it.
And maybe a little of the reality setting in now for Chris. Again, he's such a good guy, and we all root for him. You just feel bad for him that every time he bowls, he just bowls against somebody that's just bowling out of their mind.
Yeah. Mathematically, Scott has this wrapped up. I think Chris is doing the math on it right now.
All right, so the only prayer that Chris still has is to strike here. And it's not a lot of hope, but it's the only hope. And that will clinch the victory for Scott Dingman. So Scott Dingman is going to be a 3-week champion as he wins 3 of the last 4 or 3 of the 4 here at Tonawanda. We'll talk with Scott, wrap this matchup, and get you ready for a new venue next week when we return on Beat the Champ, presented by Storm.
The Western New York area has long been considered one of the best anywhere for the sport of bowling.
And no matter where you live, we have lanes nearby.
For top competition,
Fun with family and friends.
Great food and drink, or just a night out, we got you.
We are
The bowling proprietors
of Western New York.
Stop in and enjoy our sport today.
12X Tech Bowling Supplies is committed to continuing the decades-long tradition of excellence established by the DeSanto family. We are the ultimate destination for customer service, experience, and product variety. We offer an extensive inventory of balls, bags, shoes, and accessories. Our unique fitting and drilling process, combined with our in-house lane, ensures a perfect fit every time. With a range of repair and maintenance services, we can help keep your gear performing at its best. Consult our team today at 1000 Highland Drive in the J. Scuddy South Plaza, conveniently located off of 390 in Henrietta.
I'm Paul Peck.
And I'm Sue Nawojski. We want to see you out here bowling for the top spot on Beat the Champ.
So get to any of our great host centers and get the details on how you can be a part of the show and be our next winner.
And don't miss any of the action here on MSG every week.
Yeah, so check out the show next week or get out there and qualify and be our Beat the Champ winner.
Beat the Champ is sponsored by Storm, the Bowlers Company, and by the Bowling Proprietors Association of Western New York. Stop in and enjoy our sport today. 247 to 214 gets Scott Dingman his 3rd consecutive championship. 2 weeks in a row, you've bowled strikes in the first 5 frames. How important is those starts been to your success?
Huge. If I can get out to a comfortable start, put a little pressure on the opponent, and it helps immensely. And it obviously helped today. And
all right. Well, we'll see if it happens again next week, because when we move to the Town Edge Bowling Center, Scott's going to be there to try to make it 4 in a row. For Sue, my name is Paul Peck. Thanks for joining us on Beat the Champ, presented by Storm.